Hello, my name is Jerry Wise, and I'm a relationship expert and the director of the Center for Self-Differentiation. And this video is entitled, "They're Bad for Me, but Why Do I Still Love Them?" And this video is about the whys of why we stay in unhealthy, toxic relationships. Over my 35 plus years of working and helping people in their relationships, many have come who have said, I know this is the wrong person for me. I know that they're unhealthy. I know they treat me badly, but I still love them. Now, certainly we believe that you always pick the right person. And what that means is, for me, when I think of you always pick the right person, that you're picking the right person who pushes the buttons and the brokenness that you have that needs to be healed. And so, when we pick the right person, whether in dating, relationship, or marriage, there's a lot we can learn to mine that wealth of information about ourselves because of who we have chosen and who we've chosen to be with. And when we say, I know they're so bad for me and my friends all tell me I shouldn't be with them, but I just still love them and I don't know why I stay in this relationship. Why does our mind or the facts tell us to leave, but our heart and emotions tell us we can't or we don't want to? And I think that happens to a lot of folks in relationships, particularly with codependents, but that's true with others, for others as well. And by the way, this video is not a definitive word on whether you should stay or leave in terms of your relationship. I'm not telling you to leave any relationship. I believe it's important to understand how you got here, why you chose your current partner, and if you don't do this work of finding out why you got here and why you chose them, then the forces of relationships will require and cause you to repeat the pattern again with a new partner. And the cycle will happen over and over again. And so that's why we believe it's so important that divorce is not just the simple answer. And just leaving somebody doesn't fix the inner brokenness we have. That often we have chosen this person because, in fact, my belief is we choose the people that we want to be with. The chemistry occurs based on the information we don't know about ourselves. That's where that chemistry comes from. Now, I always help clients move towards being more authentic and more themselves in a relationship and see how the other person in their relationship adapts or accepts this. So after working very hard to change yourself, if they won't or they can't seem to change or accept you or change in their own behaviors, then it seems appropriate, it may be time to consider an exit. If the relationship is too toxic and you are doing and working on yourself and you don't have another partner who's willing to work with you on that, then again, it may be time to consider an exit. Some spouses do not want or do not have the capacity to change. Relationships are a choice, and they are always a choice. Our brokenness may not be a choice, but there is a choice that we make in whether we want to heal or fix that brokenness. One client of mine, I remember, spent an entire 2 years planning her exit from her narcissistic, emotionally abusive husband who was lying, cheating, spending money he shouldn't spend, not helping the family. And what she chose to do over time was to begin to save money back, even hid money, got a better job, got some extra education, sought out her family support, and then made the change. Again, I'm never one to tell someone to stay or leave. I don't think that's the role of a therapist, coach, or advisor, or pastor. I don't think that's their role to say that. It's not our relationship. It is yours. It is our responsibility to share with you information about your relationship, give you reality checks on the relationship. And again, I say this is not my decision. I help people do reality checks so that they can work on themselves and so that they can choose to either stay or exit the relationship. I always try to enlist both spouses or both partners in the relationship to help them work on that relationship. But what if it's not workable? What if one person refuses and says they just won't? Or they're in a situation in which they're so blind about their own relationship and denial that they just decide they're not going to work on the relationship and will just continue to blame their spouse for all their problems. And I think that's where we take a look at, do the positives outweigh the negatives? I believe that building a sense of self is very important. If we're in a relationship in which we feel, I know this is wrong for me, I know it's bad, I know it's a horrible relationship, but I still love them, and I feel stuck in this. Gaining that differentiation, being more of who you are, is always important in beginning to work out the problems of being attracted to and attracting a very toxic partner. Defining what you want and need in a marriage and working hard to achieve this is essential. But if your partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse says no, well then there are choices you have to make, and they're not easy ones. You have a right to stay and make your life the best it can be, or you can leave and define your life the way you want to, the way you need to. Many do not do this, and many do not do this work of knowing themselves until well after they are into marriage for many years. Many believe that divorce is so common because people are just selfish. They just don't want the marriage to work. They don't want to work on a marriage because they're just lazy. But actually, I believe that's a myth. Of all the people that I've worked with who have gone through divorces, none of them fit this category. I've never worked with, in all my years of working as a coach and previously as a marriage and family therapist, that anyone approached a divorce with that idea or idea in mind. I believe there are so many divorces because people don't begin to grow up or know themselves until well after they are into their marriage. And again, the importance of, can this marriage embrace and tolerate change on the part of its participants? In other words, can the marriage grow with the people who are in it? Some marriage cannot. Many marriages can. And again, divorce is not the same thing as self-differentiation or self-definition or defining. Divorce is not the same thing as recovery. Divorce, I believe, can be a part of a recovery process when all other choices fail. But it's not equal to recovery. And it's not equal to, well, that's just the solution. If I just get away, then everything is fine. We know that our brokenness has brought us to this unhealthy relationship. And the important part is healing that, not just simply deciding about staying or leaving. We can use our leverage to get our spouse or partner in to help with us. If you get no answer, then you work hard to get yourself healthier. and consider your long-term options. Don't wait for your partner to change. Change yourself. Do that work whether your partner wishes to or not. People ask me, well, Jerry, should I leave or should I stay? My answer is, do your work of self-differentiation, and the answer will become clear for you. And it will be more an organic answer. And it will flow out of who you are versus, well, if I just do this divorce, it will magically fix all these things. Or if I do this divorce, it will magically be a parade of horribles. Oftentimes we swing on a pendulum back and forth, either believing in a fantasy of what it will do or believing all too horrible what it will do. If your partner does not accept, want, or tolerate the healthy changes, then your relationship does not have much elasticity. Ability to accept the changes or growth in spouses is essential to healthy marriages. It is best if couples do this work together, of course. But not always do spouses feel the same way about change. The more elasticity in the marriage, the less problems there will be. The less elasticity, the less the marriage will tolerate change and healthiness. As I mentioned, this video is about spouses who are married, who are dating someone who is toxic, does not want to change, and when a relationship is so toxic and so unhealthy, we raise the question, why do we still stay? And a lot of folks will ask me that question, and I wanted to offer a number of reasons why we stay. When we're in a very unhealthy relationship, many times we can be addicted to a person, addicted to love. And addiction to love is not the same thing as love. We are living out our patterns of brokenness from growing up in our family of origin. In other words, our family of origin was a chaotic, toxic mess. Well, now we've just reproduced that in our own adult relationships. We also tend to have learned to ignore ourselves. We tend to focus on others and ignore ourselves. That keeps us in, I just love them even though they're wrong for me and so toxic. We often are abandoning our inner child, which is why we also might stay in a very unhealthy, toxic relationship. Or we will hold out hope for the good. In other words, even toxic and unhealthy people have good parts. And so we focus on those very small good parts about the relationship and hope that those good parts will grow while we suffer all the negative and toxic parts. We stay because I only deserve the crumbs from the banquet of life. In other words, I'm not all that great of a person. I don't think that much of myself. Maybe this toxic, unhealthy relationship is just all I deserve. We also tend to think this is the best I can do. Given how I feel about me, I can't do any better than this. We also can have stubborn jealousy. In other words, I could not stand to see this toxic person that I'm in a relationship be with someone else or move on with someone else. So I stay, even though it's very toxic and unhealthy. Relationships are always about fusion. We may believe that. And so bad fusion is better than no fusion at all. So we have an enmeshed relationship, especially with a toxic relationship, because toxic relationships really do reinforce and cement enmeshment over and over again. We also may think loneliness is worse than this bad or toxic relationship. I'd rather be, my current misery is better than the unknown misery of being lonely, because I don't want to be lonely. So I'd rather be in an unhealthy relationship than no relationship at all. Many people say I have to stay for the kids. Kids are always a very complicating factor, and that is not an easy one. I could do a whole video on just the kids aspect. Some people stay in an unhealthy relationship because they say, well, what would people say? And that's social guilt, an unhealthy social guilt. Some fear, well, what would my family think? And that's family of origin guilt, and that's another kind of unhealthy guilt. We can be stuck in unseen, unknown family of origin triangles that keep us stuck with these unhealthy, toxic partners. And if we unearth and do the archaeology and find those unhealthy triangles, many times we can free ourselves from the current relationship that we feel so stuck in. Many would say, I've had too many failed relationships and I can't endure one more. So I'll just stay in this unhealthy, toxic relationship because I can't take the failure anymore. Some have very legitimate concerns about how I would live financially or without help from this spouse or partner. Though many times they create a lot more problems, but they are a help in some ways. Depression can be another reason why we stay. Mood disorders can be another reason why we stay. I've been told if I leave, I will find just the same relationship as this one. Well, that is true. You will. If you do not do any self-work, you will. But I believe it's possible to do self-work and raise our level of self-differentiation so that our picker and our chooser and our attractor, that part of us that attracts us to other people, becomes more healthy, and healthier people are more attracted to us and we to them. So that the knots in my head fit the holes in their head in a healthier way. Some believe if I left this person, God would be unhappy. And that's spiritual guilt. And that's a whole nother discussion and probably video. They said they would be terrible if I left them. Or spousal guilt. Or spousal bullying. And then they hold us hostage by emotional guilt or fear. And that's very unhealthy as well. But if you're in a toxic relationship, that's not uncommon. Many times toxic folks don't want to let go of those that they are abusing or in an unhealthy relationship with. If you're in an unhealthy or toxic relationship and you feel lost or stuck, indecisive or depressed, I hope that you'll give me a call. Contact me. There's contact information on the screen. You can also check out other videos on YouTube. I have clients in Idaho, Scotland, Canada, New York, California, Israel, and many other places. So you can contact me for Skype or FaceTime coaching. You can join me in my office online. Please join our YouTube channel on YouTube. I hope you'll share my videos with your social media. They're free to everyone, and we try to provide some good information for those who are hurting. I want to thank you very much for listening, and have a great day.